Hello, everybody. This is Irina Strunin, and this is our weekly podcast, Diabetically Speaking with Smart Move 360. We go live every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and we also have our YouTube channel, Smart Move 360, where you could find all our previous recordings and some other recordings that we have for caregivers. So we have there posted some other interviews or master classes. So lots of information. And if you are interested to learn more about type 2 diabetes and how to handle it, this problem, what to do, I would recommend to go there and investigate. Every Thursday, though, I meet with experts. They are healthcare professionals, people who may be serving people with health challenges in some other capacities. It could be social workers, it could be insurance brokers, it could be life coaches, and could be anyone who is meeting with people with diabetes on a regular basis. Maybe not the only ones, but at the same time, often enough. And sometimes life is turning its special curve, and people change their professions, people change the um, activities that they do. And I am so privileged to meet with those people and speak with them. And some of them even agree with me to participate in our podcast. So today I am. Um, Meeting with Brad. He had an interesting turn in his career. And please, Brad, introduce yourself and tell our listeners why it is, how did it happen that I invited you to be here?
Well, so my name is Brad Churchill. I'm the CEO of a Calgary-based chocolate company called Chocolate. About a year and a half ago, I was presented with an opportunity to create a line of protein supplements for a friend who was in the fitness world, and they were looking for supplements that were clean, that didn't have any sweeteners or chemicals or any fillers or anything like that. And so I created this line of supplements for them as a food scientist and food manufacturer, and the brand took off like crazy. Now, I've been a competitive athlete my whole life, and I do some pretty extreme activities, and I spend a lot of time eating ibuprofen pills like they're Smarties afterwards. I'm getting old now, so it's a little bit harder on my body. But one of the things that happened with me was I was diagnosed about 4 months ago with type 2 diabetes, which was a real surprise to me because I've eaten healthy my whole life and exercised and so on and so forth. And, I started down sort of that journey of trying to modify my diet to get my blood sugar in control and things like that. And one of the things that I've also learned is that a lot of the people that I've competed in my sports with and raced dirt bikes with and all of that, they're running into the same problems as well. They're getting type 2 diabetes. And it's not just it's not just a limited to Brad Churchill and the fact that he buys sugar by the metric ton. It is, people in all walks of life and people, with all kinds of physical activities and in different conditions. So at first it was a little devastating, and then it's like, okay, well, I've been training my whole life for doing different things, so I'm going to continue, and I'm going to look at this as training in a different way. And I just change my lifestyle and change my eating habits, and away I go. Well, that proved to be a little bit harder than I thought because I love pizza and I love spaghetti and I love pasta and I love bread and hamburgers and I spent so many years carb loading before my each of my events. That's probably what ended up contributing to it. And I had to basically wipe that all out of my diet. And in going to the grocery store, I found that it didn't matter whether it was in the gluten-free section of the grocery store or even just in the center aisles, there was almost nothing in the grocery store that I could eat that wasn't filled with starches and flours and sugars, whether it's high fructose corn syrups or whatever. And, I was really quite surprised, to be honest with you. The gluten-free people, they've got a whole aisle, but diabetes, it represents almost 30% of the population today in some form, has nothing. There's nothing out there. So as a food manufacturer, I have access to literally hundreds of different ingredients that the average consumer doesn't have access to. And I set out on a quest, and maybe it was the John Wick impossible task of creating a gluten or basically a bread flour that I could make and get hamburgers and pasta and pizza and joy back into my life without
Mm-hmm.
spiking my blood sugar. So I spent a few weeks doing that, and I had to learn about bread because it's very different than the chocolate industry. And I actually created a protein flour using a blend of protein isolates and protein compounds and natural ingredients. And voila, I have bread back in my life. I had grilled cheese sandwiches last night for the first time in months, and I'm working on a high protein, low carb, no sugar brownie right now in our kitchen, and all of a sudden I've got pasta and things like that. So that's where my journey has sort of led me to where I am today, where we've created this protein flour that until today did not exist on the market.
Mm-hmm.
And, at 70% protein and 15% carbohydrates, it kills all of the flour on the market and even as the gluten-free flours that are just basically highly processed starches, whether it's potato starch or rice starch or whatever. So that has, when you can sit down and eat a bowl of pasta that tastes almost exactly the same as wheat pasta, and after dinner your blood sugar drops, I don't know. I think I managed to lasso the unicorn, and I'm pretty happy about that.
So, are you saying that after people eat the pasta made of this flour, they have to have a candy in hands because their blood sugar could go too low?
Well, it doesn't rise. It drops slightly. I wish. I wish it was that case. Then I could actually patent it and make a
Uh-huh.
lot of money. I'd be selling more than Ozempic and metformin. But at the end of the day, to have food back in your life that
Yes.
tastes the same as the food you had before, but doesn't spike your blood sugar, and it also increases your protein intake, I think that's a huge win, and it's very exciting. Our controller actually last night took some of our flour home with her and made some banana muffins with it, and
Hmm.
they're absolutely delicious. You can't even tell that there's the protein flour in them. You know, this is probably of all of the 250 plus recipes that I've created over the last 17 years, this is the most exciting. I mean, it solves a problem. It helps people. It's not outrageously expensive, And I mean, I guess my motivations are a little bit selfish in that, I get to come in and whip up 4 or 5 loaves of bread and then put them in the freezer, right? But
Uh-huh.
yeah,
So, I personally tried several times different recipes. Not, I didn't make them, but in different places they offer the protein cocktail and protein enriched certain drinks and mixes and stuff. And every time I did not enjoy them. I mean, I would complete consume it
yeah.
because I need protein, but it was not enjoy. I would not repeat it. Let's put it this way. Is
I
it?
I to I totally get what you're coming from, and even with some of the protein, like I've tried some keto breads in the last few months, and they've been outrageously expensive, like 13, $14 for six
Yes.
buns, and they use almond flour and they use chicory root and things like that. And yes, they're light and they're fluffy and they look like buns, but at the end of the day, they taste like absolutely nothing. The
Hmm.
stuff the bread that I'm making here, it's a little bit more dense than regular bread, but it has that yeasty, home baked taste to it that, when you eat it, you go, hey, that's what bread is supposed to taste like, right?
Hmm.
It's very filling, so you don't have to eat as much of it. So, one loaf goes a long way, but I totally get it. Like, I dated somebody a few years ago who was, gluten intolerant, and we tried so many different ways to make a gluten-free bread, and every loaf turned out to be just a weapon of mass destruction. And like it hit the bottom of the garbage can so hard it tore the garbage bag right off. It was, you know, like this is a game changer as far as I'm concerned, because I'm picky when it comes to my food. I'm a pancake bigot. I have a certain way I want my pancakes to taste, and this makes them taste that way without the compromise of flavor or the compromise of. I just have to figure out now how to make a sugar-free maple syrup. Right?
Oh, yes, right. Okay. So, I am just curious. This recipe that you created, you said it's all natural. What is the main ingredient in there? What is making it so different from all other ones?
Well, so there's two schools of thought. Okay, there's the gluten-free world and the non-gluten-free world. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so in the gluten-free world, gluten is itself a protein.
Yes.
Okay, and when you look at bread these days, you see protein bread where it's like 9 grams of protein in a slice. Well, the bread manufacturer hasn't really done anything different. They've just highlighted the fact that there's gluten in it, and there's 9 grams of gluten in that slice of bread. They haven't done anything different, right? They're just playing on people's intent to get more protein in their diet with their marketing.
Okay.
Okay, so what I did was I said, okay, I can't make a bread without gluten. Gluten is the foundation of bread. It creates what's called a crumb. It creates the structure that the yeast expands into, and the bubbles and all of that. And it makes the bread spongy and elastic. Okay, so that's definitely a must-have in bread. Now, the rest of the ingredients, I had to play around with them a little bit, but the predominant ingredients um, in my flour, one is a rice protein isolate, and it's ground so fine it's down to what's called a 600 mesh, which is basically almost like talcum powder. Okay, so there's no
Okay.
grittiness. A lot of gluten-free flours out there are gritty. It's like eating, a slab of sand. It's really quite unpleasant. So we start one with rice protein isolate. Then we add a milk protein isolate, not a whey protein, a milk protein isolate. And that's important from a nutritional standpoint, because in a milk protein isolate, the vitamins and minerals bond to the caseins in the milk. When
Mm-hmm.
you use a whey protein isolate, it is a dry, chalky, unpleasant tasting byproduct of the cheese industry. We're
Yes.
using a purpose spray dried milk powder. Number three is the vital wheat gluten, and that's the glue that holds it all together. Okay. Then we add a little bit of flax for structure and fiber, and we
Mm-hmm.
add a little bit of psyllium husk powder to help make the bread a little bit more elastic and spongy. And in essence, that's it. Oh, and just a touch of enriched white flour. Like,
Okay.
it's one of the last ingredients,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Because when you're working with yeast, yeast needs to convert the starches in the flour in order to create that gluten structure and create the sponginess in the bread. And because we don't use a lot of gluten, because the predominant ingredients in our bread are rice protein isolate and milk protein isolate, it needs something in order to create that structure.
Mm-hmm.
So tiny little bit. So, for example, I've got a bag of it right here.
Yeah.
If we compare in our two pure flour, there would be, say, about a cup and a half, about 250 grams or 178 grams, so about a cup and a half of flour. We've got 119 grams of protein and 27 grams of carbs. That's it. That's in a cup and a half. As
Okay.
opposed to all-purpose flour, which has 18 grams of protein and 135 grams of carbs. So the
But
macros are completely flipped.
yes.
Exactly. Gluten-free flour is even higher in carbs and higher and lower in protein. So the other nice thing too is potassium and calcium are much higher in the two pure flour. For example, the calcium in our two pure flour is 273 milligrams, whereas in all-purpose flour it'd be 24 milligrams, and gluten-free flour is about the same.
Oh wow.
So
Because you're keeping the milk proteins in there, right?
that's exactly right. And that's where that calcium and potassium comes from. Now, the rice protein and the gluten, we've got in our two-pure flour 755 milligrams of potassium as opposed to 188 and 140 in the other flours.
Oh
So almost
wow.
7 times as much as well.
Yes.
And you know, the gluten, the psyllium husk, and the flax, they all help contribute to the structure that holds it up. And
Hmm.
the proteins just substitute for, you know, the other components in the flours. It's really exciting.
All right. Well, sounds like a excellent product. I hope there will be. So you are in Canada, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're in Calgary, Alberta. Yep, but we've got by the end of this month, our product should be on Amazon. We've got our listing approved. The two pure products, the two pure, the protein powders are first. I've already sent the company bags of the product of the flour so that we can get that listed and up. So I anticipate within the next 3 to 4 weeks, these products will be available on Amazon all over North America as well. So people
So
can order
somewhere by the
directly.
middle of the 2025, we will have this, we will have a chance to purchase it if you are somewhere in the States.
Absolutely. And you know, I've already spoken with a number of national retailers up here, and they're super excited about it because they're aware as well that people are trying to increase the protein in their diets and reduce the amount of carbs that they're taking. And they're aware that there's nothing on their grocery store shelves that basically offers what our protein flour does, right?
All right. So, okay. We also know that you said that the product will be available on Amazon,
Yep.
and we know that stuff on Amazon can be much more expensive than if you buy it directly from the manufacturer.
Manufacturer.
Uh,
Yes.
do you have any plans of having like direct sales or having a store or something like that in the States?
Well, right now, for Canadian residents and Canadian citizens, we do have a factory store. So if you're local in Calgary, you can actually walk into our factory and buy. We've been in business for about 17 years. I use the same facility to manufacture the protein powder that we do to manufacture our chocolate.
Hmm.
If you're in Canada, we ship all the way across the country already. So that's a given. In the United States, um, depending on how I see things go with Amazon, I may very well set up a distribution network in the US and offer it in basically sales through the Two Pure website, and then allow people, and then just have our distributor ship it out from their facility. I've already got one colleague that's interested in Utah, which is pretty good and pretty central. So
Yes.
yeah.
All right. That's very exciting. So, and you said that you tried many some different recipes, and you checking your own blood sugar. How's your blood sugar going on with using and testing and all this?
Good. I'm using the
Yeah,
Libra 2.
CGM. Okay.
Yep. And it's actually coming down. You know, it was quite high at first, and yeah, now I've got it. You know, I'm about 95% in the zone of 3 to 10. So
Nice.
very happy with that. My A1C is dropping. So really, and this flour has really helped me do that. So what I've done to help people as well is I've actually put up some recipes on our website. The,
Mm-hmm.
the cool thing about this flour is I don't really have to do much in terms of modifying a recipe. Like, when you're making a gluten-free bread, you've got to use a bazillion egg whites and almond flour and all these weird ingredients. You got to do all kinds of things to make what you're looking for. What I'm trying to do is create recipes that you can literally download off of Google and create it. Like I've done spaghetti, I've done a pasta with it. Super, super easy recipe. And in all honesty, I don't know why people just don't make pasta at home. It's just, a cup and a half of flour, a couple of eggs, a little bit of salt, and you're done, right?
It's time.
Um,
It's time, and a lot of people afraid of it. I know we've done pasta at home, multiple times,
yeah,
but
so easy. And I've got a bread recipe. I've made pizza crust with it. In fact, on our website, there's photos of the products that I've actually made. Banana bread. In anything like brownies, I've done brownies, cupcakes, banana bread, pizza crust. And what I've done with the cupcakes and the brownies, I used our own regular cupcake recipe and our own regular brownie recipe here, and I just subbed the flour one for one out, and they worked out perfectly, no issues whatsoever, right? Because it does have that springiness and the rise and everything that's necessary for the leavening. And there's a pancake recipe online too, so lots of different opportunities, lots of different options, and I know I had a customer make some dinner buns and pizza crust for one of her friends the other night too, and she sent me pictures, and I put a post of it up on our Facebook page. So very, very exciting prospects. Very exciting.
definitely, definitely. So you are using yeast in your recipe, right? And
And yeah, yeah, in the bread flour and in the pizza crust, yes. But
it's a good
the
thing.
the brownies, the cupcakes, and the pancakes all use baking soda or baking powder.
Hmm. No, I just know that the bread is kind of a little bit better, the yeast-based breads than without yeast. So the fact that you have that in your recipe is a kind of a good sign for people who is looking for more similarities.
Absolutely. Well, the yeast adds a very unique flavor to the bread,
Mhm.
right? When you don't have it in there, you basically just have a biscuit. That's
Yes,
really what you've got,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Well, this is all wonderful news. Excellent. So, what else did I have? Do you have anything else to suggest to people? How in the world you decided to help yourself this way? Because you have the opportunities. Who is testing it except for you? A lot of questions. Who is testing for you the the products that you create?
Well, first and foremost, because our facility is organic certified and GPP compliant, we get lab tests with every single ingredient that we bring in. So we know the organoleptic issues. We know, if there's E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria, what heavy metals are in it or not in it. We do a tremendous amount of research. I don't know if you can see, I'll turn the camera. I have a rack of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like even, for example, here's a good example off the rack. We get a sample of what is this one? Fava bean protein, and it comes with a certificate of analysis with it, showing,
Uh-huh.
the total plate counts and everything. So, you know, in many respects, I'm a science nerd when it comes to food. And I use my facility as both a lab and a creative ground. Now, it's important to know as well that I've been creating recipes for 17 years,
Yes.
closer to 18 years, and I've been cooking since I was a little kid. I own one of the most well-known craft chocolate manufacturing companies in the world, and I've written literally a book on the business of craft chocolate. So food science is not foreign to me. It's
Mm.
actually pretty easy for me to create recipes because I understand the dynamic of each ingredient and how it plays its role in that particular food. And one of the things that I've maintained with respect to everything that we do here at Chocolate and to Pure is I want to keep the ingredients simple. I
Yes.
want ingredients that people can that they can typically find in their own kitchen cupboards, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't use chemicals, we don't use eights and ites and preservatives and dyes and things like that. And by simplifying that process, in some ways, it handcuffs us to what we can do with certain recipes, but in the other way, it makes things much easier because we understand what's happening when we're creating a recipe. Why did it fall? Why did it not fall? Why did it, basically climb right out of the bowl and, all over the inside of our oven and went too far. So that for me makes it easy to create what we've done with this flour. And then, in the last couple of weeks, we sold literally several hundred bags of it to very loyal customers of ours who are, daily bringing in cheese buns and sending pictures and saying, well, hey, here's how I had to tweak my recipe, and here's how I had to tweak it. And, we're continually making changes to our website as well to, show and share those pro tips with customers who want to use this flour and improve their consumption on their journey to better health.
Now, here is the question that I just got. Are you prepared for the catastrophic success? What if when the product will get to the broad market and people see the results? Um, the products, as you said, it's already you're selling it successfully pretty well in Canada.
Yep.
What will we do when everybody will want it?
Well, I'm actually very prepared for that, and that was one of the keys to the research that I did when I first started down this path. We're very fortunate here in Canada. I'm actually very fortunate here in Calgary to have one of the largest gluten producers in the world, an hour and a half north of Calgary. It's an ethanol manufacturing facility, and they produce 55,000 gallons of ethanol every 24 hours. And one of the byproducts of their production is vital wheat gluten. And they're one of three factories in the world. The one is in the States, and then the other one is in, I believe, Japan. And so they're north of us. And there is no shortage of gluten that I can buy. The rice protein isolate is produced by a lab in overseas, and they're ISO certified, and they're what's called BRC certified as well, which is an international recognition for food safety. And there's no shortage of the rice protein isolate we can get. And then the milk protein isolate I buy is from literally the largest dairy in Canada. So I can buy that stuff, by the tote, by the shipping container, however much I need. So we're very excited about the prospect of bringing these ingredients together into something that people can use. And there's no shortage for me in terms of ingredient supply. And then it's just a matter of masking, or then it's just a matter of mixing it. And we've got, we're a wheat country, right? So we have huge mills that can mix, millions of pounds of flour as we need it.
Absolutely. Wow, this is very exciting, Brad, and I appreciate you coming to meet with me and explain some of the details. And hopefully, we will be able to get more people, um, able to return back to breads and pizzas and everything that they're missing after they got diagnosed with their type 2 diabetes.
Absolutely. I mean, that to me is the big plus. I mean, I've been making luxury chocolate for many years, and in some ways I set out early in my career to rescue the world from mediocrity with respect to, our stuff compared to a Hershey's bar or whatever. But this solves a legitimate problem, and it's a problem that, hit me right between the eyes
Yes.
in a very unsuspecting way. Um, and has brought a lot of joy back in my life that I haven't had for 4 months. With at the same time, it's bringing my A1C down, and and I'm noticing physiological changes as well. In my own overall health, just by making a simple change like this. It's pretty exciting.
Definitely. Perfect. So, Brad, as I said, this podcast will go live in our Facebook group. I also will post the recording in YouTube on YouTube channel, and you will have the link for it to distribute where you want to share it.
Oh, that
And
sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to.
yeah, so anybody who is listening to this, please spread this information because this is a wonderful news that I think every person with type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, will actually benefit from knowing that this is available, it's existing, well, it exists, and you actually can get your hands on it and start using it. So let's spread the information. Before we go off, I need to just remind everyone that in our Facebook group, Diabetes 101 for Beginners, we have this podcast on Thursdays. On Tuesdays, we have our event called Telenurse Tuesday, where our nurses go online and answer your questions in writing, so you don't have to be on camera. Every other Wednesday, we have our support group meetings where we meet in Zoom in person with some healthcare experts, and they are helping to find solutions for different challenges that we have. Of course, Diabetically Speaking Smart Move 360 podcast. We are working on a new format for our Diabetic Healthcare Expo. We have our Diabetes 101 for caregivers events every month with our registered dietitian Kim Kyle. So a lot of information happening, a lot of events are happening in our Facebook group. I hope you are keeping your eyes on what admins are posting so you have a chance to know about it right away and maybe take part in it. Brad, thank you very much for being with me today.
Oh,
I
it's my pleasure. Thank you for letting me, spread the news.
Absolutely. Thank you. And everybody, please share this episode, share our Smart Move 360 channel on YouTube, and have a great, wonderful rest of your week. And I will talk to you next week. Bye bye.